Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice for radio, so today I am showing you a brand new stadium card that I think could be really, really good. It's Hilltop Stream. Now, we've been talking a lot about water Pokemon in the previous few videos. We've talked about Aqua Patch, the new item card that allows you to attach a water energy from your discard to one of your bench water Pokemon, or as I've been often referring to it, Dark Patch for water Pokemon. We've talked about Wishiwashi GX and Alolan Ninetales GX and water Pokemon coming out of the wazoo. Well, Hilltop Stream is another thing that all these water Pokemon have that they can have a bit of a play with. Nice and simply, it reads, once during his or her turn, each player may search his or her deck for a water or fighting basic Pokemon and play it onto his or her bench. Now, one thing that's important to note here, and it's not really an issue now, but it could be in the future. Coming into play abilities won't work. So I've often said with Nest Ball, you can use it to search for Shaymin, but because it puts Shaymin straight onto your bench, you don't get to use a setup ability. Same thing here. If we have any really good water or fighting Pokemon with coming into play abilities, they will not activate when you search with this stadium. Not an issue now, but it could be in the future. Now, the other thing I've got to mention at the outset here is that water decks already have Rough Seas, a very nice stadium card that allows you to heal 30 damage from each of your water Pokemon every turn. So you do have to essentially give up Rough Seas in order to play Hilltop Stream. Now, don't get me wrong, of course you can play some of Hilltop Stream and some of Rough Seas, but then you might not have the card you want at the right time. It adds an element of inconsistency into your decks. As for fighting Pokemon, they have to give up Scorched Earth, which is a good card, which hasn't seen a huge amount of play, but it's seen a little bit. And an expanded Fighting Stadium is a really, really good stadium for fighting decks. And then you've got the standard, all decks might want to play something like Parallel City or Silent Lab. You never know. But let's be nice and clear about this. Every single turn, you get to search for a water or a fighting basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench. This is amazing. This adds consistency. It's like having a free dive ball every turn. If you're playing a deck, and one I've talked about a bit recently is, and it's just mooted in an idea, you'll have to play around and see what works exactly, but something like Lapras with Wishiwashi, and maybe Tapu Fini, and maybe Manaphy EX. Well, all of these are basic Pokemon. So it means that every single turn, you can find the one you want. Play a single Manaphy for free retreat, because as long as it's not prized, you're going to be able to find it when you want. Playing a Zygarde deck, well, you're going to be playing a bunch of Zygardes, and you might be playing some Carbink, etc. Well, you can search them out whenever you want. Oh, I'm playing a couple of Regirock EX. Oh, I really need to do an extra 10 damage this turn. Well, I can search out the Regirock straight away here. And that's what makes it so good. Anyone that's played this game for a while will have had many, many games and many, many turns where they just need a Pokemon and they just can't find it. And this gives the extra consistency. And it's not just once. It's once a turn. And the absolute worst case scenario, you play down Hilltop Stream, search for a single Pokemon, and then your opponent replaces it with their stadium of choice. You've still essentially gotten a free dive ball. And if your opponent doesn't replace a stadium, you just get to keep going. Play something like a Super Rod and then immediately get the Pokemon straight out again with Hilltop Stream. One fun little use for this could even be in Volcanion decks. Don't forget the Volcanion EX is dual type fire and water, so you can actually use this to search out your Volcanion EX like some people have been using Dive Ball for. Although Volcanion, most of them tend to choose either Skyfield or Scorched Earth, and they probably will trump Hilltop Stream, but even so. This water box deck I've talked about, revolving around Lapras with a bunch of other cards, I think you have to use Hilltop Stream. I think it will be the stadium of choice. It sucks to give up Rough Stream, I get that, but free Pokemon search every single turn, I don't think that you can give that up. But really, with this card here, anytime you're playing a deck that revolves around water Pokemon, every time you're playing a deck that revolves around fighting Pokemon, you've got to at least consider this. Now you look at a deck like Gyarados and you go, oh, it's a water deck, shall we play Hilltop Stream? No! Don't play Hilltop Stream. You really need Team Magma's secret base. But you still need to consider in every water and every fighting deck, is this the one you want? It isn't a very complicated card. I can't really give 10-15 minutes of analysis on this. If there isn't another stadium that you desperately want in water and fighting decks, you need this card because it adds consistency. And it doesn't matter how good your deck is, the more often your deck sets up and does what it wants to do, the more often it is that you are going to win the game. So I am going to be giving Hilltop Stream between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. There are many, many decks for which this card will be entirely useless. But there are many decks for which this card will be an absolute godsend. And let's not forget that we don't even know the water and fighting Pokemon that are going to be released before this gets rotated. We could have some decks which are utterly broken with this card. Now, you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. There is a comment section. Go nuts, be nice. There are buttons to both like this video and subscribe to this channel, and I would be delighted if you would use them both. You can find me on Twitter @TheWassie, and the most important thing as always is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.